Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are broadcasting live a Get Medieval Blood Bowl match in the 5th round of the 3rd season. Tonight's match will be one that I will not be actively participating in, just doing some commentary on, between the Atrocity Exhibition, one of our more veteran players rolling out some chaos, and Bloodrawr, a vampire team that is still trying to find its legs. Well, its fangs, or its victims, or something along those lines. Anyway, they're still looking for something. We are loading in live as the game is kicking off just a little bit earlier than expected. But I am loading up the team details on another screen so I can at least talk to you guys about them. And I'll also give some quick updates on our league standings while I'm at it. So, out of our 12 teams, our vampire counts here are currently in last place with a 0-4 record, whereas the Atrocity Exhibition is just out of the playoffs in our current standings. They are in 7th place with 6 teams making the cut, with a 2-win, 2-loss record. So, Vampire Counts really need a win here in order to turn their season around and get on the board, whereas the Chaos team, well, we all kind of expect them to make the playoffs. They've just got to start playing up to the level that we've come to expect out of them. So we'll see which one of these teams gets the chance to shift the fortunes in their favor tonight. All right, kickoff is headed over towards the Chaos side. Extra reroll for the Vampires, that might come in handy. Although some of the previous matches I've watched for this Vampire team have been very, very, very lucky on the Bloodlust rolls. I believe the first game of the season, this team actually did not fail a Bloodlust roll throughout the entire game. No rerolls required. So, our vampires are spread in a bit of a aggressive towards the line defense, but without having all their players on the line. I guess they're close enough to take advantage of a blitz if one were to come up, while still leaving the minimum of 3 players on the line. Looks like we've got a block and a dodge thrall, and then 1 vampire sprinkled in for good measure with Frenzy, which is an interesting choice for vampires. It's not one that I personally agree with, although I guess you really want their blocking attempts to count. Let's see, that's a quick spin of a reroll there for the Chaos, getting double skulls so early. Where was I? Yes, the Frenzy on the Vampires. My concern with that selection is that if you fail a Bloodlust roll and then you throw a block, you may not end up in a situation where you can bite a thrall at the end of your blocking attempt, and that decision might end up getting taken out of your hands, especially if you're playing against a clever player with sidestep or something like that. It doesn't seem to be a good synergy with what the team needs in order to be functional. Anyway, looking more at what's happening in the game here, we've got 3 blocks, 3 down vampire players, 2 of them stunned, no injuries so far. Now it really becomes a question of where does Chaos spin their blitz for the turn. Taking a look, we've got, kind of to be expected, 4 instances of guard here on the line for the Chaos side, and those that don't have guard, they've got high enough strength to be problematic in and of themselves. This Chaos team has rolled more plus strength than I've ever personally seen on a team. We've got 1 plus strength here, and 2 here, and 1 here. That's right. Over here we've got a Beastman that is essentially a Minotaur without wild animal. And speak of the devil, he's going to throw himself a block with Claw and Mighty Blow. He manages to pull the stun. This is going to end up being the scariest player in the league in about, I don't know, 17 star player points or so, because you just know that the next upgrade is going to be piling on, right? Somebody's going to need to take care of that beast man, or else we're going to end up having a legend that stacks block on at the end. So beastmen have retrieved the ball, and it is now over to the vampire counts. I'm going to do something quite radical for myself, and I'm going to see real fast while we're switching around here if we can't get ourselves a more traditional camera angle. Yep, there we go. So any of my league members there watching might be stunned right now. I don't mind the 3/4 view personally. I've just gotten used to it, but I know that my cohorts are rather a fan of this view. So hopefully it will be more useful for their viewing pleasure and for particular reviews by these players if they wish to take a look at the match afterwards. So our vampires are pushing into the backfield a little bit. I guess they are wanting to at least put some pressure on the ball carrier. And I don't really blame them for not wanting to fight their way through the line first. Because with all this guard, all this strength 4 and strength 5 sprinkled in, that's going to be tough to break. So I do agree with pushing up through the flank. I am a little bit concerned that we may be overextending by committing 4 players to this while you've got 3 players stunned and unable to do anything, because it might be possible for the Chaos team to push up the middle, especially if there was a easy pass available to a beastman here that might be able to just run straight out of anyone's range. All right. So, not really sure what good that gaze does there or what good it does to stack this player here. Feel like, you definitely use the gaze if you're going to end your turn without throwing a block with a vampire. But with that tackle zone turned off, well, you'd still have to dodge away from this guy if you were to cut through there. So, yeah, I guess maybe that works. But still looking at the fact that there's a lot of Chaos players right here. Plenty to form a cage that are unoccupied. And this guy could make it a very short pass to reach any of these players that he wanted to, if he wanted to divest himself of the ball. And this one Thrall would be the only one that would really be able to catch up. Anyway, so let's get in the habit of swapping around and seeing things from the Chaos point of view. And this looks a little clearer here that there is nobody back here. Looks like the Chaos coach is going to be a little bit more conservative here, though. rather than pushing for that fast score, they're just going to cage up in the backfield. It's a little less risky. I get it. Personally, I'm a fan of putting more pressure on and moving the action. Teach their own, though. Not a lot of blocks to be thrown here this turn. Most of the vampire players ended their turns out of base contact. But our killer does his thing, or tries to, and runs into a vampire with dodge that sort of ends that attempt rather quickly. Don't blame him for not spending the rerolls there. Only have 2, and we're still only in turn 2. Finish setting up the cage there. Still have this block to throw. Still have one beastman down on his rear. Feel like that guy needs to stand up pronto before anything else happens, and probably should have been on his feet earlier in the turn. And time is clicking down. Not sure if we're just trying to make a last second decision here, or hopefully one of our coaches has not ended up disconnected. Nope, we're just trying to figure out who to put where. All right, got a KO. That's our first removal of the match. Relatively inconsequential as things go. There are plenty of thralls standing by, waiting to come in on the sideline. 3 substitutes available for the vampire counts. But at the same time, every thrall that goes down is one less that can be bitten in case of a bloodlust. Alright, swapping views around as it is now the vampire turn. Got quite the sturdy cage here with a little bit of an extra screen out front. This does show a bit of inexperience with dealing with hypnotic gaze on the part of our chaos coach, as this beastman never activated during that turn, and as a result, he is still gazed on this turn. And we might have found ourselves a chance on the ball as 2 corners of the cage get gazed. And now it is vampire on ball carrier. Spin a quick reroll there, and ball is out. Not really in a retrievable location, and that bounce may put it back in the Chaos's hands to begin with. Nope, well, it's well defended by Chaos at least, but hey, gotta say, I'm kind of impressed that the ball came out there. So now it looks like we're just trying to mark up some of these players that could get to the ball. So I kind of expect this guy to, well, he can't quite get there safely. But he's still going to try it anyway. Yep. He passes the go for it. Fails the gaze, but hey, he tried it. That's something we talked about after an earlier match. Throw that hypnotic gaze out there every opportunity you get, just in case it works. our vampire had guard, so that got us to a 1-die block. Not bad. One player left that can't really do much on his own, especially against strength 4, so tries to dodge away and fails. Still, that's a drastically better position than I expected our vampire team to result in. So let's see what the Atrocity Exhibition can come up with from there. All right, so we are remembering to activate our players this time around. Get rid of that hypnotic gaze, or at least one of them. I suppose I should do the thing and swap things around. See things from the chaos point of view. I'm just absolutely certain I'm going to forget that for a complete turn towards the end of the match. It's my intention to stream a lot more of these matches when opportunity allows. Problem is, my hours are very much restricted by my wonderful children that I have to put first, just as loyalty as a parent. Once they go to bed, we can rock and roll here and bring you guys all a Blood Bowl you can shake a stick at. But until they are willing to go to bed, then my attention is there. And our league has a propensity for starting matches just about the time that my kids eat their last bottle for the night, which means that I usually miss the first couple of turns if I was to tune in for a match, and I got to bring you everything if I'm going to be streaming, right? At least that's the idea. But these guys started a little later than our average start time for the league, so that gave me the opportunity to bring you Blood Bowl. Looks like we've got a vampire down here. And down for the game with an injury. Well, that's Penny the regen roll, and he does regenerate. That's good. That guard comes in handy. No coincidence that he was the vampire targeted, mostly because he was the vampire that had a tackle zone on the ball. But if you're going to pick one to take out, the one with guard is definitely not the wrong choice. And again with the stun, having a lot of armor breaks on these guys. Warrior down, but not out. It's starting to look like we're not going to have a ball retrieval attempt this turn. Not that we really need it. The Chaos team has it fairly well tucked away. Got a lot of vampires stunned, so they're not getting up this turn. Well, I say a lot. We got one actual vampire and one thrall stunned. But that's still going to be a numbers advantage in favor of Chaos for next turn. And we're not in any hurry. It is only turn 3 after all. All right. So now let's see what our vampires can do. And again, I'm totally going to forget that button for an entire turn or 3 before we're done here tonight. Might not be the longest lived thrall, but then again, these guys don't exactly sign up to live forever. That's the vampire's job. Puts a tackle zone on the ball, but I picture this guy getting blocked off really early in the turn. All the numbers point in favor of chaos, especially once a few of these players stand back up. But I don't like, as the chaos player, how much the vampires are squeezing in at this point. This is going to be a furball for several turns now. This might be the last chance to really be able to clear off the ball and get something moving. So I'm thinking now or never. I was a little confused by that for a moment. The idea that the thrall has catch did not click for me. I thought for all the world that was dodge, because I'm a little confused by the selection of catch on a thrall. All right. Tackle zones are at least off the ball. So this guy's got a clear run at a pickup should he so choose. I know we kind of want this guy with sure hands to be the one going for it, but just not sure that we've really got the way to do that. I mean, I guess this guy could try to blitz this thrall clear. Stands up without doing so. So that's obviously not our plan. Clear out another vampire. We are again leaving a hypnotized warrior here that is not doing anything. It's late in the turn here. Right, so we've got a pseudo cage formed. Just need a ball carrier to get in here. All right, so we are blitzing this guy off. Gets the block, gets him down. Don't think, yeah, no, we used all of our movement, so we're not going to be able to form another corner on the cage, but our sure hands ball carrier does snag the ball and advance it slightly. Alright, don't forget to activate this guy. Even if you just stand still, turn his tackle zones on. A little bit more aggressive of a move with the ball carrier. Gets us a assist on this block, and yeah, vampire down. Mighty blow kicks in for another stun. And over to the vampires. Not a good position here. It's super unhelpful that this vampire right here, a guard vampire no less, is down and stunned right here, because that makes it really difficult for this vampire to get a block on the ball. And this one would have to make a dodge roll out. Super not something we want to do. All right, up on our feet and we gaze. So being productive. And that gets us a tackle zone onto the ball carrier. So that's something. But there's plenty of strength over here on the chaos side to knock that guy straight off, even with assists being nullified. Got strength 4 right here, would have strength 4 right here. Yeah, you do kind of want to push him out and get another obstacle in front of the ball carrier. Gotta say, things aren't exactly going their way, but the vampires are putting up fairly solid defense. That's unfortunate. Rerolling a attacker down into an attacker down. Still, we're trying hard not to give up the score here. It's turn 5, which means we are halfway through the first half. And the ball is only now just barely over the midfield line. Personally, I don't really see this half ending in any score other than 1-0 for our Atrocity Exhibition. But again, the Bloodrawr vampire accounts are putting up a solid fight. I'll give them that. Not really sure what purpose that block had right there. I mean, yes, you have a block, you take it, but my first priority would be finding a way to get this vampire out of here. And we have done exactly that, but using the ball carrier to do so. And another stun. I mean, you obviously prefer the stuns to more serious results like knockouts or injuries, but it's kind of shocking how many players have gone down like that and been taken completely out of the action for multiple turns. I'm not entirely sure what the plan is here, but I gotta say, I definitely do not like that move. There's not a whole lot of reason to spend your blitz on this guy when the hypnotized warrior that should have been activated way before that point could just make that block without having to spend the blitz to do it. I guess maybe I was missing that thrall that he ended up hitting as... Well, no, that had to have been the original target that got pushed over there. Yeah, that still doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Works out in the end, but just doesn't seem like the most efficient use of the resources at hand. Oh, I swapped in time. Yes. All right. Swapped just in time to catch what little of that turn there was. Rerolled a skull into a both down when not having block and going up against somebody with block. That's rough. All right, so turn 6. This conga line of chaos has really got to get a move on. We've worked too hard not to score this turn, right? Now the question is, you've got 2 rerolls available. Do you get greedy and try to hand off the ball and give somebody else some star player points, or do you want to get another level up on your obvious primary ball carrier? Looks like we're saving that decision for later. Or this decision has been made and we're just scoring with our sure hands ball carrier. Now that the cage has been moved, there's not a whole lot left to do this turn. Maybe put a tackle zone on these 2 vampires just to keep them from dodging away quite so easily and making a run on the cage, but really I think our next move or so should just be, yep, throw a couple of blocks and move on. Nothing too complicated to do in this turn. All right. Gonna say get a assist on this guy and let him throw the block. Nope, we are feeding him back in with the blitz. Yeah, I guess that works because you're trying to get some points on your killer. This is Vampire Pinball at its finest. There we go. There's our down result. Not a whole lot left for this guy to do. Kind of surprised he didn't come over and mark this vampire. But I guess you're looking at agility 4 with dodge. It's going to be pretty hard to pin that guy down. If the vampires want to move him, they will move him. And again, we swap camera views just in time because, as I expected, I am forgetting to do so. Kind of a shame that that was only a stun. And the vampires really need a numbers advantage, I think, if they're going to make anything of this game in the second half. And that numbers advantage does not really seem forthcoming. Alright, so we've got a couple of gazes, but a failed dodge out. So we were starting to maybe look at cracking the cage, but not really. The ever-present league drama. Our Discord is getting a little active at the moment, as tonight's other match that was not able to get on in time to stream has ended with some turn 16 fouling. Gotta love it. Meanwhile, over here, got enough marks on these guys to hold down the fort. So our Atrocity Exhibition is doing exactly as would be expected. Setting up to stall on the goal line for a turn. And in this position, this vampire would need a go for it to get there at all. He's the only one anywhere near in position to do it. No rerolls remaining for the vampires. And fishing there. Spending our reroll, why not? We've got 2 of them left and 2 turns left to play. That guy's down, and now there is nothing that the vampire counts can do to stop the turn 8 score, other than maybe offer up a juicy target that isn't as juicy as it looks, and hope that the Chaos team gets greedy and fails a block roll. Don't really expect that to be the case, though. Yep, nope. Can't get there. So throw yourself some more blocks. Hope you can swing the numbers a little bit more in your own favor. and move on to halftime. Oh, falling down on my job. Just a little busy stirring the pot in our chat and making sure that my opinions were known about the end of game fouling. All right, so even with Frenzy here, well, okay. So that worked out okay as is. I feel like that blitz should have come in from the other side. Just because with Frenzy in that block, actually, if the player's here and they get pushed to here, you've still got the strength advantage on them because you've still got assists. If Ballard gets pushed to this position and then Frenzy continues, this guy has guard, so yeah, okay, it works out. In general, not the right move, I don't believe. You don't want to risk your Frenzy going to one die or even half die situations on the push. I don't know. Maybe he was aware that he had guard here and would still have the extra die on the second block. So now our Chaos Coach is considering his options, trying to decide if there's anywhere he wants to throw any blocks for the couple of opportunities that he has. And it looks like he is going to do exactly that. The chances of having a turnover here are very, very low, but I still don't know that I agree with it. I think you've got to just take the score and move on. Maybe he's confident that he would still be able to pull out a result in the second half. But I, for one, do not like this. Pushed his luck as far as he was willing to. Skips the blitz and scores. All right, so our vampire counts have a turn before the half just to throw some blocks. So hoping we see them stacking up on the line of scrimmage. And by the opposite token, Chaos does indeed put some low developed team members on the line of scrimmage to get beat up on. Taking a quick glance. Ball carrier is in reserve. I agree with that. Yep. Seems like the right sacrificial goats. Pun intended. All right. So I do think that this is a time where I really would have liked to have seen that frenzy vampire on the line. And maybe we're saving him for a blitz in case somebody doesn't go down. But this seems like a ripe situation to put both of our frenzy vampires on the line and let them push down the line. And making sure that we make the most of our blocks. Also there, you've got to follow that up because, I mean, you've got enough players to spare, but, or we could just not do a blitz. Okay. I mean, I think the Chaos team does have one goat to spare, but still feel like you've got to take your shots where you can get them, if nothing else for the star player points. All right, now Chaos is setting up to turn around and actually play defense this time as they kick to the vampires with a full half to try and tie things up. Oh, I get it now. So again, I like that 3/4 angle. It's all. I just realized I didn't turn around and look at things from the vampire's point of view on those last couple of blocks. My bad. I have let my viewers down. All like 1.5 of you. Anyway, so I just now get why they call this the boat formation. You got yourself a hull right here, you got yourself a mast right here, and you got your sails flapping in the wind up here. And by flapping in the wind, I mean going wee as they get knocked back by the opposing line of scrimmage, but what have you. Anywho, so I'm hoping that we push at least one of our thralls back this way, because this is something that I talked about with the vampire coach earlier in the season. The idea of the ball landing back here in a corner or something, and then trying to pick up the ball with one of your vampires, and then they fail a bloodlust with no thralls around, just kind of irks me. Okay, well, the good news is the ball ended up where I would have put it anyway. But I don't know. You do you. If you want the sure hands, go for it. I haven't really been keeping track, but I feel like that's the first failed bloodlust roll that I've seen. And we do re-roll it. I know we haven't seen anybody get bitten. So maybe we've re-rolled all the failures. Oh, there's a failure that's going to stick. Never fear. Thralls are near. Only question is which one to bite. I feel like it's unfair that you're unable to bite opposing players as a Vampire Counts coach. Oof. It's 3 vampires activated and 3 bloodlust failures. Which might be getting our vampire coach's attention strained a little bit. Yeah, you got to move here to bite a thrall, I get that, but at least try to gaze the beastman first. That can still be done, even if you're going to end up biting somebody. All right, well, the line of scrimmage is a royal mess. Ball is fairly safely caged up. Now let's look and see how the Atrocity Exhibition sets up their defense. I know there may be some decisions to be made about potentially blitzing with one of them, but yeah, I definitely want to see those guys stand up quickly. There you go. At least we haven't rolled any dice yet. I guess I'm okay with that. Just don't want to see anybody get forgotten. Kind of surprised that this guy's playing back instead of joining into a columns defense over here, but I guess maybe we want at least one player as a deep safety. Alright, and we've got one player left to activate. Oh, two. One was hiding. It is our Minnow Beast Man. It's really a shame that you can't rename players once you discover their actual identity. Because I feel like a name like Best Knee Beard just doesn't cut it for this guy. Kind of confused why we would even bother throwing him at a thrall. Claw's not going to do anything to him. The grand scheme of things, the thrall himself isn't that valuable. Feel like I might have stuck that in against the vampire over here. Right. I'm falling down on the job again. I gotta remember that if I want to swap the camera around, I need to stick to it. Just need this thing to take care of itself, or somebody else to operate the camera. That's what I need, assistants. Or maybe I'll call them thralls. Alright, so we're trying to swap sides of the field here, which I guess I get, but you're giving up a little bit of ground to do it. And don't really have a good way of tying up the enemy or blocking them off, so all these players are just going to shift over to this side and be just as effective as before on defense. Alright, whatever floats your boat. Not a lot of action that turn. Truthfully, I'm not sure how much action I expect for the remainder of this game. I know that no coach is ever going to just say, you know what, I could score 2 touchdowns, but I'd rather just score 1. I don't really think that's anybody's mindset in a competitive game like this. But I don't know that I'm expecting the Atrocity Exhibition to really give a lot of emphasis towards getting a second score or getting the ball out. I feel like they're going to be pretty content just to take what blocks are handed to them and stay between the ball and their own end zone and shuffle out of here with a 1-0 win. Just my personal thoughts on the matter. I mean, I could be shocked this could end up in a 3-3 tie. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. Might require a constant string of riots to get there, but it's a dice game. That's why we play, just to see what the dice tell us. A beast man getting 3 dice against a vampire. That's just crazy talk. and yet another stun. And then that tricky little goat dodges away like he's a war dancer or something. I can say with 100% certainty that our chaos coach here has spent a little bit too much time hanging out with our premier wood elf coach, who has a propensity for dodging away with war dancers and sticking them in the back and keeping them protected. And it's not quite as easy of a dodge roll for the goat as it is for a war dancer. But that is definitely where I have seen that play before. Alright, so in the shuffle and with a blitz to push a player back, we've now swapped sides of the field again in order to advance 2 squares after having surrendered one last turn. So literally 1 step backwards, 2 steps ahead. And now we spend the next couple of minutes watching chaos swarm back over this way. At this rate, this entire second half is going to be just like 2 folks running into each other in a hallway, and both trying to get out of the way by moving in the same direction. Oh, excuse me. Oh, sorry, didn't see you there. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Please pardon me. Oh, surely one of us will pick the random correct direction that is not the random incorrect direction because the opposing hallway mate chose the opposite direction. I don't know. Joke kind of fell flat as I started elaborating on it, but you guys get the idea, right? Right. Now, I'm not sure exactly what happened here in the shuffle, but it does look like Chaos might have gotten a little bit out of position here. Oh. You gotta use the apothecary there. Yep. And no casualty. That feels better. Oh, nothing tricky on him, just mighty blow, but came up with the kill. Anyway, so somewhere in all of this, things got shifted around to where Chaos can't quite reach this edge to close it off. So there's an opportunity of sorts for the vampires to push upfield if they're willing to move to a side cage, perhaps, to not just give up free blocks by putting players in base, but I don't know, especially not now that we have gotten some pressure on the ball. Wait, what? Oh, that's our friend Bethany Beard, and we don't want to give up any free blocking attempts on him. Yep, make him hide and be inconspicuous and look just like another random goat grazing in the field. That was a interesting little animation. A little bit of around the world there. All right, so it's not a healthy situation to enter into, because vampires are going to end up being outnumbered and trapped if they do so. But I feel like the best chance the vampires have to potentially tie this up is just going to be to just bite the bullet and push upfield as hard as they can. Reach there. You could get a touchdown in 2 turns with 1 go for it, assuming that you are able to work your way through whatever defense the Chaos safety goats put up. These 2 would probably be the problematic ones, which is probably why the guy with wrestle is back here in the back. Wrestle and tackle would work out well for taking down a vampire. So yeah, it's something. But I don't know that you're going to get much of a better chance. And still, we've just got the back and forth shuffle. I know your vampires may be at least quasi-immortal, but time is not on their side. Because I hate to be the one to tell them this, but the Chaos defensive line is not going to get a whole lot more permeable than it already is. And every turn that these 5 players are not part of the ongoing fighting is another turn that Chaos can go at this point 11 on 5. It's just not going to get better. You don't want to, do something silly like have one vampire streaking up the middle on its lonesome, but you've got to take the chance and say, well, sure, come get me. And instead, we sit through this again as Chaos takes block after block after block on this line of the vampires and pushes them back just a little bit more again. Now, I say nothing's going to change, but it does look like the Atrocity Exhibition is getting a little bit more aggressive about their defense, which is unlikely, but it could end up leaving some form of a exploitable gap in the line. Because if these 3 players over here don't shift over, then there's an opportunity to push up this left flank. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm supposed to be doing things. I just about completely forgot a whole turn of camera work. I'm just the worst. I know it. And again, we're gonna. Oh, we're changing up a little bit. We are leaving the tackle zone on the ball. It's strange. It almost looks like the Atrocity Exhibition is getting a little impatient here. Because it's interesting, even with only 3 vampire players on their feet, perhaps there were 4. Regardless, it really looks like this might be the best position that the vampires have found themselves in yet. I feel like our vampire has to make a bolt for it this turn. Yes, Chaos will probably chop their way through and do some face beating on Count Onufrius or whatever his name is. But, okay, that piece I don't understand. Why stop there? And why stop there? Oh boy. Well, opportunity wasted. I really would have liked to have seen how this would have turned out had we really pushed upfield this turn with the vampire count holding the ball. Now we're not going to get an opportunity to see how that would have turned out. But I feel like that point there of just shuffling over a little bit as opposed to actually pushing upfield is probably where this game's result was. Let's see, had a nail put in the coffin, perhaps? Would that be an appropriate term when playing against, or I guess not playing against, but uh, observing a game involving vampire counts? But yeah, I don't see another window opening to where we could possibly see an equalizer. Because really, if you turn that corner, you might end up with just this one Beastman left to beat. And instead, we are going to get yet another turn of Chaos knocking down as many vampire players as possible. And then waiting for them all to stand back up. Very exciting material here, folks. Very exciting. I keep thinking, at the very least, I might be able to talk about one not being able to get back up eventually, but that doesn't really seem like it's forthcoming. Again, for as many stuns as we've had in this game, not a lot of knockouts, let alone injuries. Hey, look, another stun. All right, something might actually happen. It didn't actually happen. Well, the one thing that did happen is the concept of the cage as a mobile entity no longer really exists. So we'll see something different from the vampires this turn. I just not sure exactly what. Yep. Low chance of the hypnotic gaze actually working there, but there's zero harm in trying it. I can approve of that. Really need to clear these guys off the ball carrier. He was the right first target, but I'm kind of surprised that it was a ball retrieval specialist thrall that did it. Would have expected that block to come from this vampire. So that thrall would still have a shot at this guy. Alright, well, I guess it works out in the end. But again, we're approaching the point where nobody's really going to be able to score in time. And oh, look, a removal. And in favor of the vampires, no less. That's a surprise. And there's not enough urgency on the part of our vampire team here. I mean, number one, let's just be honest here. Unless we're just looking at actual injuries and hoping that regeneration is going to bail us out, Chaos is going to win this war of attrition, and they're especially going to win it when we remind all of those involved that time is on the side of chaos, as they are actually ahead 1-0. This behavior from the vampire counts would, I guess, be quasi-appropriate had they come into this half with the lead instead of trailing 1-0. As it stands now, the ball has to get advanced this turn, or else there's no opportunity for an equalizer before the end of the game. All right. Maybe something will actually happen here. Hey, something actually happened. A knockout. And a tackle zone on the ball. And now we get the ball carrier pushed into a lot of tackle zones. All right, turn 15. Quite possibly the most important turn of the game. In fact, I would argue, say, if certain decisions are made, that it might be the most crucial turn of the game. Because we're out here throwing blocks willy-nilly left and right, and any one of those could fail. And there's not someone in that position to be able to potentially score on turn 16 for the vampires. Sure, you cleared a tackle zone off the ball and cleared another one and cleared another one. All right, cool. Your guy with dodge can now freely run away. Okay, okay. There's a good move. I agree with that. So this thrall next turn with 2 go for it's could reach the end zone. And we have the ball in his possession. This is all good progress. But it's not quite going to be enough. Because now all the Chaos player needs to do is bring this Beastman in here and throw a blitz. Strength 4 versus Strength 3. And there's a 35 out of 36 chance that he ends the game just by throwing that blitz. Okay, that throw coming into position does make it possible with a few extra rolls that things could get a little bit better for vampires. But a push, well, okay, so do have block, but we've got wrestle. Wrestle cancels out the block. So yeah, we're back to 35 out of 36. Because just a push is all they need for this player to be completely out of range. So if he makes that blitz, the only option that is left for the vampires is a pass or potential handoff to this guy. And there's another goat right here that could easily tie him up and can't keep him from getting to the end zone, but can make it a lot less likely. Still, I do have to say that I do commend the vampires for at least taking a shot here and giving themselves a chance. All right, well, that pretty much seals the game right there, because now you can't blitz the guy and pick up the ball and hand it off somewhere. But we did kind of push this vampire slightly closer to the action. All right, now we're back to, yeah, probably not possible. Well, that's one clumsy goat. So I guess trying to tie this guy up. Hmm. I know it's unlikely that anything would have happened to change the outcome of the game here, but you've got to spend a reroll on that. Because at that point you're saying, you know what, I've got this one last trick in my pocket and I'm just not going to use it. So coming into the turn, there was the slimmest of chances, but I'm going to go ahead and log into our record keeping systems and mark this down as a 1-0 victory for Chaos, because yeah, there's nothing that's going to change that now. So, looking at our league standings, that is going to move the Atrocity Exhibition up into 6th place. I'll have that fully confirmed momentarily, but best I recall, our 6th place team had a 2-win, 1 draw, and 2 loss record, and this makes for 3 wins and 2 losses for the Atrocity Exhibition, which does slide them into our last playoff spot. That's a temporary hold on the playoffs, as we are still several weeks out from finishing the season. In fact, this is week 5 with 12 teams. We are running a 11-week season, so we are just shy of the halfway point. But we've seen enough out of our teams involved in season 3 so far to get at least most of an idea as to what our trends are going to be and who's going to be where when we wrap things up at the end of the year. Just a few more, I guess, vanity blocks. Sort of the basher version of vanity passes. And that will be the end of the ball game. All right, so we'll flash through some statistics real fast. Definite advantage in the number of blocks thrown on the side of the chaos. Excuse me. A lot more ball movement by the vampires, but literally 75% of that or more was pure horizontal as we're shuffling back and forth and looking for the opening that never really came, or came and went without being taken advantage of, depending on how you look at it. Star player points, this is kind of a light game for both sides. Total of 18 star player points between the two factions. Most games in our league, I think 18 is kind of low for a single team, but I suppose if the injuries don't happen, the injuries don't happen, and the touchdowns certainly weren't happening here. So I know that Bloodlust makes up a large portion of it. Yeah, there's 50 dice there from Bloodlust alone, but it still feels like this is an insane number of total dice rolled. I guess another 16 out of the hypnotic gaze that most teams don't have. So yeah, all right, so there's 66 dice that normally aren't there. That probably makes up for the ridiculous total dice, but it still seems really high. On our block dice, huh. Those are some statistically improbable numbers. Alright, well, make that what you will. For the Atrocity Exhibition, it's about as simple as you can get. No attempts to catch, no attempts to throw, very few attempts to dodge. Yep, really just punching folks. That's all you really need to do as a Chaos team. As far as the block dice, that's pretty well on average, all things considered. Alright, and then popping over and taking a look at our leaderboard for the league. 5th loss does kind of cement a low finish for our vampire counts, and in fact, that may basically commit them to relegation uh, at the end of the season into our newly formed Dark Ages League, as only 10 teams will be allowed to remain in the medieval leagues here. But there are a couple of coaches that are just barely in front of them, uh, namely Not Taken and Winged BS, with Winged BS having lost tonight. It does still give some hope for the vampire counts to remain in the big leagues here. Meanwhile, the Atrocity Exhibition actually moved up into fourth place with that win, having gone into a tie with RVD's Revenge, and apparently winning out on some tiebreakers, or at least according to our uh, in-game standings. I'm going to peek over at my own standings list in another screen just to confirm. So let's see. So I show RBD's Revenge in front of the Atrocity Exhibition, and I want to take a peek back at our schedule to see if there might be a really good reason as to why. And yes, so the in-game leaderboard does not reflect this, but our league does use some custom standings in which head-to-head record is our primary tiebreaker. And RBD's Revenge does own the head-to-head over the Atrocity Exhibition by virtue of their round 2 win. So, disregarding the leaderboard here, the Atrocity Exhibition and RBD's Revenge should be swapped, but both are solidly in, well, I say solidly in, they are currently in playoff positions, as our cutoff would be here at 6th place were the season to end today. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, we do have another 6 rounds remaining in the league. Peeking back over our schedule here. That is the last match in round 5. So we're going to go ahead and confirm that and open that up for the league. And here are our upcoming matches that hopefully I'll be able to broadcast a few of for all of you folks out there at home. Tonight's victors, the Atrocity Exhibition, will actually be facing up against my own team of innocent civilians this round, whereas our other competitors for the evening, Bloodrawr, will be taking on Charybdis Crushers, which the Crushers are on the outside looking in of the playoff picture this week, but again, long way to go. Still, they're both teams in hunt of improving their playoff picture, or avoiding relegation, as it were, in the Vampires case. Then I tend to do this kind of as the week goes on, but looking at our other matchups for the week, I think I'm going to tentatively call this match right here, Compression Socks versus Roll to Win, a at least candidate for my Game of the Week selection. Taking a look back over at our leaderboard. So Compression Socks are just on the verge of playoff contention. Roll to Win is doing fairly well for themselves with a 3-1-1 record. And both of these teams have coaches that have found themselves in the playoffs previously. And I think that's just an interesting matchup with the Wood Elves versus the Norse. The Norse bringing the frenzy that can make the most out of what limited blocks that the Wood Elves will give them. But it's a huge difference from a team value standpoint. Looks like the compression socks are giving up 430,000 gold in inducements for roll to win. So we're looking at 2 babes, a wizard, and a star player. That's gonna be pretty hard for the Norse to overcome. Just from previous experience, I can tell you that our Wood Elf coach for Roll to Win can snag a victory out of just the presence of merely a wizard or merely a star player. You give him both, and it's pretty hard to take him down. But still, I expect that to be a hard-fought match and one worth the view. I wouldn't be afraid to call the Atrocity Exhibition versus my own Innocent Civilians a strong candidate for Game of the Week either. Much closer in team value. Uh, Probably much closer in uh, the ELO calculations, which I will pull up momentarily. Let's see. So for our week 6 matchup, looks like the roll to win versus compression socks game is about 80% in favor of the Wood Elves based on ELO rankings. The Innocent Civilians versus Atrocity Exhibition is 77% win probability in favor of the Wood Elves, so not quite as far apart as I had expected. One game in particular that jumps out to me to watch might be the Long Live the Slam versus RBD's Revenge. That is a Kislev versus Lizardman matchup, and those coaches are 100% tied